I'm a millennial, so I think I grew up in the social era. And so it's always been an interest of mine. I love to figure out how things work. And so social and everything social encompasses is just perfect for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you felt like it found you or you found it? I mean, when you got started, or was it just a weird coincidence?
I think I found it.
Yeah.
I always find the things that work. I
Yep.
don't know.
So that first role, you talked about you're managing these accounts and it's fairly high profile. What did you have to just self-teach yourself on how to do this? Was there someone else next to you to like, here's how we do it? I mean, how did you go about that?
It was winging it entirely. So no one else at this little company knew how to run Facebook ads. So it was a combination of me taking notes of what changed from yesterday in this campaign, and then just just going for it. And I think that that's probably a commonality in my everyday is just winging it. I'll figure it out as I go, um, and not getting tied up in the details. It'll work or it won't work, and that's a learning.
Winging it's one way to say it. I think the other way to say it is that you're just not afraid to try. And it's like, how do I make progress every day? It, I guess in some ways you could say people get nervous when they hear the word winging it, but I mean, we're reinventing this stuff all the time. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what you have to be willing to do is if you're waiting for a course and a textbook and a mentor, like some of the things we're doing, it's never been done. And anybody who's got it figured out, they're only weeks ahead of us. You know what I mean? So we got
Yeah,
to give it a try
absolutely.
and just go for it. I think that's what's commonality in our space, at least with our team, is people who are good at self-teaching and just trying things and not being afraid to unlearn and relearn. And in fact, that's like what turns us on. Like we're after that, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So what did you do after that experience? What was the next mark in your journey?
The next mark was I went to work for a vendor at the time I was working with that current company. And this put me in touch with more celebrities, actually Playboy, as well as a teen mom from MTV. So I was doing something similar, a lot of organic social, and it was really writing copy for Facebook posts and working with these celebrities to generate revenue from clicks. So I did that for about a year. And as startups are volatile, at least in my early career. So that was a layoff, and then I was on to the next thing.
What did you like the least and the most about working with celebrity on social?
Their community, their community is passionate. They either love the celebrity, they love to share stories or inspirations that the celebrity helped them with, or they could be a community that despises that celebrity. And I've seen both worlds. So it, the communities are so interesting.
Yeah, it probably is like you're working at the ends of the spectrum, right? Like it's love, hate, nothing in the middle,
Yep, for sure.
which probably makes anything that's in the middle just seem easy to handle after that, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So you kind of had this mix of organic social community management as well as paid on that side. Do you feel like it uses the same core strengths, or is it like two different sides of your brain, or two different, very different skill sets? How do you think about that?
I I really view paid social, community, and organic, even influencers, they all work together. So I keep telling my friends this, my agency friends, and I will get into discussions about this. And I say it's an ecosystem. They all help each other uh, work together. You can get insights from every single one that could layer into paid social. You might see something really generate interest in conversation from an organic post. You put that in a paid ad, and you might see 3 times the conversion than any other type of ad. So uh, I think it uses the same part of my brain. It's just figuring out how do they affect each other, and what dials do I have to turn to make organic social see uh, bigger performance, or how they work together.
Yeah. I think the commonality for me, if I was trying to answer the same question, would be that ultimately we're just trying to talk with people, right? We're trying to figure out like what speaks to them, what's relevant to them now, and that goes for both sides. The other one I feel like is a little bit more intuition, community feel, probably feels a little bit more natural in some ways, whereas the other one's going to rely on a little bit more math of like, you're looking at formulas and equations and trying to think like what's a good return, what's not a good return. But still, you're trying to figure out how do we speak with people, which is super complex, right? Like so many different ways to look at that.
Yeah.
But to your point, the more practice you get at speaking with people in non-paid activities puts you in a better position whenever you do put a little more oomph behind it with paid, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot of content insights, as well as messaging insights from a community and organic that you can apply in paid. And to your point, it's all about how to talk to people and finding out what's important to them. And that's where that ecosystem comes in.
Yeah. Do you think one of those channels is more of a test kitchen environment than the other? Like, would you run tests in paid organic, or would you test things out in organic before you then put paid behind it, or does it go both ways?
I think it can go both ways. I think we test more in paid because there's money behind it, and we know that we're going to reach the audience that we want to reach, versus organic is an existing engagement, existing followers who already follow the page. So it could be existing employees or customers we've already retained. So I think paid social is probably a go-to for testing.
Yep. So now at Native, you worked on a number of accounts. You've got to know a few different types of clients. There's probably a little bit of variety in the work that you're doing. What do you think? How do you think our clients perceive us? Do you think that they see us as similar to other marketing firms that maybe they've worked with, or do you think there's differences in the way we do things that the clients see?
I think we do things differently, and I think we're seen as a more transparent partner. We're so upfront in results, and if something didn't work, we say that, and our clients expect us to say that. So there is a level of trust there with our clients. I think that really puts us ahead of the game, as well as a front runner compared to other agencies.
Why do you think we're more transparent?
I don't know, but I think that it's something that's needed in this industry. I think
Yeah.
a lot of times agencies can cover numbers or cover insights, and I think we're probably more transparent because it's been communicated as being a big need or a big importance.
Yeah. I mean,
I
everybody
feel
who
like I'm
starts hears me
rambling.
talk about it, talk about why it
Yeah.
is important, right? I try to give backstories on why we've done that. I mean, there's a couple of reasons. One is it's the right thing to do. So why would you not? You're always going to benefit, I believe, in the long run doing the right thing. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long run, I think you will.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, we've been super annoyed when are the agency partner and someone else is obscuring the numbers and making themselves look good and hiding mistakes. And it's not a good look. We don't ever want to be perceived by that. There's always going to be some people who are sort of fooled by that. Eventually, it doesn't take very long to find someone who's like, yeah, that's not that's not right, and that would be a terrible feeling to be called on that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we tell people we're going to deliver results. So eventually, when the revenue is not there, they figured it out. Like it didn't work, right? So we there's just you can only hide for so long, and there's no point in that. Plus, I think a lot of us we approach this work as if we're teachers, and that's fun for us. And so, like over explaining things is like a habit of ours that we haven't stopped for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So what about you when you joined? You'd worked at a couple other different firms, a couple different shops, and you went through the interview process. You got to know us a little bit. Were there expectations coming in that have been met, or maybe, oh, this is different than what I thought? Like, how have you perceived Native from since you joined?
Let me think about that for a second. I I was familiar with Native before I interviewed. I'd always kind of been keeping an eye on what you guys had been doing, but when I got here, I was really impressed with the collaboration across all teams and departments. Strategy and our team performance work really closely together, and I think that there's just endless possibility with strategy being so close in our process, as well as creative. We work so closely together, even sitting together. I think that makes a huge difference, being able to toss an idea over to a creative director, just as I'm working through a process. I think that that really speaks for itself, and that was a big thing for me when I got here.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's more fun that way, right? It's to learn from other disciplines and not just the
Yeah.
same people all the time. It can be difficult, especially as you're growing, to keep that close together. But to me, it's worth the effort, and it does take effort. But I think it's more interesting.
Yeah.
Whenever you describe what you do to your, like, where you work and what you do to, like, friends, family, or whatever, how do you describe what you do and where you work?
Um, Most of my friends understand what I do. I think it's my grandparents or my mom. It's explaining, okay, well, the ads that you see on Facebook, I'm ensuring that you're seeing relevant ads that are going to make you want to purchase or help your life in some way. So I've gotten pretty good at explaining it, but um, that's how I explain it. I say, let's see your phone. You see that ad? I do it with my husband all the time. He'll say, my phone's listening to me. I'm like, no, it's not. You're just clicking on things that you're being retargeted with because you keep clicking. So it's never ending, but yeah.
Yeah, that's similar to what I say. I'll say, you ever search for something in Google? Those top few things that you saw.
Yep.
Said you see stuff on Instagram, ads. Yeah. Said you see pre-roll on YouTube. Yeah. Like, yeah, that might have been us at one point. So
Yeah.
my kids didn't think that was cool until one of them, who spends all of his time on YouTube, he's like, you put stuff on YouTube? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh man. He didn't
It
care
is
about any of the
cool.
other platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait
Yeah.
till we get into TikTok.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Then my other kid will like that. Yeah. What what has been, let's say you were talking to a friend in the industry and they were considering working at Native. How would you describe it to them? You talked a little bit about the collaboration piece, but is there anything else that you would say is like, this is what you need to know about Native?
We are constantly moving forward. I think that's another really important aspect of being a native and a personality of native is we're not, I'm trying to think of the right word. We're always looking at what's next. We're always looking at what's on the horizon. What are opportunities? We don't want to be stagnant. We want to keep going, for our clients, for ourselves, for internal development. It's always what's next. It's never, well, let's sit on this, let's grow in this. It's how do we keep going? So for someone who wants to continue growing and continue exploring the ad space, I'd say let's go. Come on,
Yeah,
come
that's
meet the
cool.
team.
That's cool. If someone asked us like what we do and where we want to be, I would say newest proven thing. Like, we're not bleeding edge, but we do want to be leading edge. And we also don't want to just find something that we're good at and then just stay there while the world passes us by with new things, right?
Yep.
Like, so we've always got to be figuring out, like, is it proven? Is it new? Like, that's where we're going to be. And we can still hold on to things that we're great at, but we need to be
Oh
great
yeah.
at it. And it needs to be like this thing that, like, people are wrestling with and trying to figure out, like, that's where we're going to stay.
Hmm.
And the thing, and the word stay isn't right because it does, you don't stay for very long, right? Like you got to keep on
Right.
moving with the times. If
Evolving.
you totally, if you were to try to make a forecast of what our team might look like, what we're doing, how we look and feel, that type of thing as a team, do you have any ideas of what it might look like in 5 years, give or take?
Uh, I can already feel it now, but I think we're going to be growing a lot. I think that there's just a lot of need to focus on what we're doing, how to continue to get better at what we're already doing well. I see a lot of growth in our future and um, a lot of different category clients, if that makes sense.